Hi, I'm Parker.
And I'm Mike. And this is the Graphic Novel Podcast.
Welcome to our new podcast on the art of the graphic novel. Mike is the author of 10 books and produced Comics TV, which was a weekly TV show on comics for 7 years back in the 90s.
Back in the olden days. Together, we produced Northwest Brew Talk about the beer industry in the Northwest for 2 years. Now we're back, and this show is all about graphic novels.
Hi, I'm Parker.
And I'm Mike. Welcome to another episode. Thanks for listening.
How's your week?
Week is good. It's almost over.
Almost over.
Almost over.
It's so hard to do the way that your schedule works.
What does that
Because it's
mean?
Friday, and tomorrow is your Friday, though.
Yeah, it's all right.
It was easier when your week was in the middle.
Yeah, well, it's probably going to be that in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It's probably going to change to that. Make everything.
Can I tell you, I love your hair.
Yes, thank you. I
love it.
haven't cut my hair since
Should we trim
March,
it?
I believe.
Should we trim it?
I don't know. Maybe not yet.
Have you looked? Do you see like split ends? or
Yeah, I
anything?
don't look at it that close.
I love getting in the shower and seeing your hair.
Yeah, I don't know the last time my hair was so long that it actually ended up in the shower.
Yes, my hair is not in the shower. Your hair is actually longer than mine.
I know.
I love it.
I know.
It makes me so happy.
I think the last time my hair was this long was 30 years
Teenager.
ago.
Yeah. 30 years
Maybe
ago.
40.
Yeah.
Man, it's been a long time. Because for most
Let me tell you,
of
if
my
I knew you as a
30s
teenager, if I had been your age when you were, I would have had the biggest crush on you.
For most of my 30s, I had short hair because
I'm glad you went right back to
Johnny that I worked with,
Uh-huh.
that's what he used to do. He used to shave his head like short, like number 2 clipper or something.
Was he balding? And so
No, I think he just did it because he liked it. He still does.
he's not like a white supremacist. Or
No.
anything, right?
No.
Okay.
No, he's a good guy.
I can't remember for some reason what he looks like. I can picture his children,
Mm-hmm.
and who probably don't look like that anymore because
Yeah.
it was years ago.
But
And his wife. I can't picture Johnny.
no, it's all
It's
right.
kind of weird.
But so it was easy to do that. So for years, I cut my hair like that, and I was a bike messenger. I had my hair short.
You were copying Johnny. That's so sweet.
And I had beard over different types of beards.
Oh
over the
my
year.
God. We should like post pictures of
Well,
what your beards look like.
It was
through
funny
the years.
when we did Comics TV.
I can tell you with absolute certainty, if I would have seen you with the long, just like long goatee thing that you
Uh-huh.
had going on for quite a while, I wouldn't have looked twice.
So when we did Comics TV, we worked with these two guys, Bill and
Trevor.
oh no, Bill and Ted is what comes to my
Bill
mind.
and Ted.
But it's not. It was an excellent adventure, but it wasn't Bill.
Oh,
Bill and Sam. Bill and Sam.
Oh,
And,
Sam I am.
Sam had a business, and we would go into their studio. They had a lot. It was nice
What
and
kind
bright.
of business?
A sign business.
A sign, like they made signs. He
Mhm.
made signs.
And so we'd go and record over there. We did that for some months, and they used to do skits, and we did these ratty rat skits.
Oh, that's where
And
you did them. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
and
I didn't know that.
And they did one about Steve's multiple hairstyles over the time. But looking back, I had just as many. My hair, because I would grow my hair and I'd let it go, cut it short, and different mustache and beard and everything. So I was just as bad, but they made fun of him.
Because he's the fat guy, so he's easy to make fun of.
Maybe. Anyhow, so what book are we going to do?
That's terrible.
I
by the way.
don't know if that's why, because Sam wasn't skinny.
So what? You think fat oppression is only something that
I don't know if that's why they did it.
self-deprecation?
I think it was because Steve was more noticeable the way he did it.
Why?
Because he would go from extremes, like he'd have long hair, and then all of a sudden he'd be bald. And
What? I've
he
never
did-
seen Steve
he
bald.
did all kinds of stuff.
He has got a full head of hair. Are you telling me
He
he
does.
shaved his head?
He did at one point.
Seriously?
We'll have to watch that episode again.
I need to see that episode. I cannot
right.
even imagine Steve
What?
bald.
Book are we doing?
Really?
Yeah.
You don't want to keep going?
No, I've had enough about that.
Are you afraid I'm going to ask a question that you don't
No.
want to give me the answer
No.
to? Okay.
Something different this week, not a memoir.
Not a memoir. And I have to say, when you chose the book, you told me that I might not like it.
Well, I don't even know why I bought it. It came out in July of this year, 2019, and I had bought it brand new. I think it was pre-order, and I don't know why. It was before we were ever thinking of doing this show or anything.
Really?
Yeah.
So the cover is pink, which is an immediate turnoff for me. I do not like the color pink. And it's an old white guy with a cigarette in his mouth, which are like three
negatives
that I am not at all.
And it's called Bad Weekend.
Right. So it's like, and then the authors are both men.
Creators.
The creators are both men.
Mm-hmm.
And so right away, I'm like, I know when Mike thinks I won't like it, and I'm not going to like it. But then in the background on the cover, there's some average looking people and some chunky people. And I'm like, I'm going to have to give this book a chance.
Yep.
And I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
So we read Bad Weekend by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips.
Mm-hmm. It's from Image Comics. And
I'm just going to do my little synopsis as I do. Hal Crane should know. He's been around since almost the beginning. Stuck at an out-of-town convention, waiting to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award, Hal's weekend will take him on a dark ride through the secret history of a medium that's always been haunted by crooks, swindlers, and desperate dreams.
And that medium is comics. So
it is?
Yeah. So we'll give you a little background.
Whenever I hear medium, I think
medium, that show with
the fingernails. That's the only thing I think of when I think of her.
There's that one. No,
the
the
medium.
other one.
Oh, what is her name? Arquette.
Yeah,
Patricia Arquette.
So Ed Brubaker is one of the most award-winning writers in comics. His best-selling titles with Sean Phillips, Criminal, Incognito, Fatale, The Fade Out, My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies, and Killer Be Killed have been translated around the world to great acclaim, and Marvel's movie feature his co-creation, The Winter Soldier, have all been international blockbusters. Ed lives in LA, where he works in comics, film, and television. Most recently on HBO's Westworld, and as co-creator and writer of Amazon's Too Young to Die. Drawing comics professionally since the age of 15, Eisner Award-winning Sean Phillips, Ed Brubaker also has at least 4 Eisners and 2 Harvey Awards. So these guys are both award winners, which is good. I mean, they're good creators.
Does it? Okay, so obviously I don't know. Maybe you can tell me.
They're by their peers.
Okay, it's by peers. So it's not like the
I think the Eisners
I want to say
peers.
Academy Awards that however much you paid to the judges and spend on stuff is okay.
Drawing comics professionally since the age of 15, Eisner Award-winning Sean Phillips has worked for all of the major publishers. Since drawing Sleeper, Hellblazer, Batman, X-Men, Marvel Zombies, and Stephen King's The Dark Tower, Sean has concentrated on creator-owned books, the same ones we listed with Ed. He is currently drawing a new volume of The Long-Running Criminal, written by his longtime collaborator, Ed, and colored by his son, Jacob.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
And Jacob, even though he's not credited in the book, is apparently done something.
You're not going to even read Jacob's?
No, he's not credited on the cover.
Yeah, but he's in the back.
Oh, so what? He's a freelance.
He must have colored it.
He's a freelance illustrator based in Manchester, England. When he was 11 years old, he wrote, drew, and home printed his first comic book, Roboy. He took this to Brighton Comic Convention and flogged it from behind a table, selling out on the first day. Ever since, he has been scribbling away, working with clients such as BBC, Arrow Film, Headspace Property, Arte, and Kino Lorber. Jacob is the current colorist on Criminal, as well as working as a freelance illustrator and comic book artist.
Now tell me, if our child is 10, just turned 10, and they love to draw and they want to make comic books, we actually bought them. Okay. So now, no. Okay. Now listen, if we're going to pretend like we're big time people and they're listening, wouldn't you be happy to hear that your child got given the credit that they deserve because they're in the book?
Yeah. The problem is our kid wants to use other characters. And
we don't have to go into that. Yeah. But I'm saying, like, our child is still only 10. Maybe at 11 they could be, writing the
I keep
things
telling them,
and doing the things.
Keep trying to give them hints.
We don't have to worry about it. I'm just saying, potentially, if we were in the situation with our child, he must have done some coloring in this. Yeah.
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe
at 11 years old.
Maybe he did.
That's good.
Okay, so what Bad Weekend is a story about Hal Crane. It's Crane, right?
So
Hal Crane, who
in general, we're having a guest lecturer today, our guest podcaster,
Cat
McJones.
Cat McJones.
In general, I am attracted to books that are written by queer people.
Right.
I mean, created
by
queer people, about queer people, and
women.
People of color. And people of color. So when you have a book that
has none
of that,
I know it's tough.
Generally not interested, but
exactly, we had it. Like I said, I bought it in July.
So I'm particularly critical. I feel like
I read it,
but I did kind of enjoy it.
It's a crime story, and I'm like, you know what? It's pretty good. I don't know if you're gonna like it, but it's still a pretty good story.
I mean, you kind of liked, or you like, I like crime. That one book that we read that was awful, but this was good. I liked it.
Awful.
The art was wonderful.
Oh,
of course,
Chester Brown.
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But Bad Weekend.
Well,
I love the art.
Well, what this is,
and they drew real people and fat people, and I love fat people.
Okay, so what amazing. This was in their criminal comic.
You're just going.
They serialized.
Right. Yeah.
So each every so many. I don't think criminal came out that often. And
do they have dates? No, just ice
no. They asked the ice cream. But when it would come out, they'd have another.
Well, could you tell based on how far apart they?
But another part of the story. So what happened was, publisher said, "Hey, you know what? Let's put this Bad Weekend together as a graphic novel for the convention season, because it's basically about this Hal Crane going to a comic convention that he's reluctantly attending. They paid for him to be there."
And comic books have been dying since the 50s or 70s or when was it?
40s.
The 50s, 40s. And I kind of love that, because I kind of feel like it's true. Like I feel like it. I mean, obviously they would know.
Well, when we did,
everybody's been saying the comics are dying, and then you go to these comic book Comic Cons and they sold out, and people packed and dressed up, and you would never have guessed.
No, I think
that it was a dying art form.
I think it evolves over time. In the 90s, when we were doing comics TV, it was huge. The comics would come out with variant covers. Sometimes they would come out in plastic bags, already sealed plastic bags, because people collected them like stocks, and they sold them, and people would buy.
Do people still do that?
I don't know if they do anymore. I don't think they do like that.
No.
They used to buy they'd buy 10 copies of number one.
Is it like the Beanie Babies that they think?
Yeah, that kind of
it's going to be worth so much in the time.
Yeah, and there were.
I remember when we lived in the city of Buffalo, and we moved out to the suburbs because we wanted to live close to your parents because your dad was sick. And you had, I think, six boxes of comics, and you sold them to somebody. I think he offered you like $50, probably not even that.
It was probably worth a couple thousand.
Yes.
I didn't want to go through it. I should have asked for more, but I didn't. I thought about it later, and I'm like, I can't worry about it.
No,
I'm not going to think about it.
Yeah.
But there were comics I had sold over the years.
It was so kind and generous of you.
I had sold comics over the years. There was one that we did on the show that I didn't like at all. And then I go on eBay one day.
Oh my God.
And they were selling for
that is the worst thing to do. Why
they were selling for like $30. No. This is at the time. They were selling like for $30, and I'm like, oh fuck, I've got this. I'm going to sell it.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't like the comic anyhow.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But it was really popular. Other people liked it, so I'm like, okay, I'll get rid of it. So what happens is Hal Crane, he gets invited to this convention, and
has no intention.
He has
doesn't give a shit about
no desire to go there at all. So this guy Jacob, who had been one of his interns, like what, 10 years previously, something like that.
I think it was more than that.
15
wasn't
years,
it?
yeah, something like that. He gets a call from this woman from the convention and says, "Hey, would you be his handler for the weekend?" And he's like, "No, I don't want to do that."
He doesn't know this woman. He doesn't really, I mean, he knows Hal, but he's like, why? Like, we did not end on good terms. This was not,
and Hal
we didn't go our
him.
separate ways gently into the night, like that is a bridge that was burned.
But Hal requested him
yes
to be his handler for the weekend because
Yes.
it must be in their town. That's why. Something, I don't know.
It's so strange.
So basically what's happening is Hal comes to town. He wants to go and drink and go visit some people he knows. He doesn't want to go to the convention. He doesn't want to go to the dinner to where he's receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award because he thinks that
it's bullshit.
Yes, because there's some truth to this
That's what I was kind of thinking. Because I don't know a ton of the details about comic stuff. You are far more knowledgeable in that arena, but it felt really honest.
Well, they mentioned some of the old creators like Steve Ditko and
don't ask for names.
I can't even think of some of their names right now. But basically, they
did mention real people.
They screwed a lot of these people over the years. Who's the guy with Stanley? Jack Kirby.
Archie Lewis. Is that a real person?
I have no idea. But Jack Kirby's another one. These guys, they created tons of characters. They used to pour out these books monthly, multiple books a month, and most of them were just screwed.
Archie Lewis is the guy that he was creating with and who drove into a wall.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that was a fake story.
Okay, so not even like.
No, I never heard anything about that.
Do you remember when that happened by my work?
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh wait, yeah.
That was terrifying.
And they jumped out the window.
Jumped out the window? No, they drove into the wall.
Wait, what?
They trigger warning for suicide. They were right by Furman Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
The Skyway comes off the ramp there, and somebody just full blast drove into the wall right outside of my work there.
Did they die?
Yes.
Oh, I don't remember.
And it was right before work let out. So there's all these, I mean, it was a small company, so it wasn't like, but yeah, it was, I remember we were coming out right after and they had we had to go around. We couldn't go that way. So we had to go all the way around and go to South Buffalo and get on the Skyway there. But yeah, they had the yellow sheets all over the car and everything. I don't think we even I think we watched it on the news that night.
Don't remember it. So back to the story. So basically Hal is spending the weekend doing what he wants to do. He gets dragged into a couple events. He goes to a book signing
and gets yelled at.
He goes to a book signing that they're announcing his name, and there's like she tells him that there's like,
I swear there was a line.
There's a line, and he gets there, and there's like no people there. One person walks up, and somebody else comes up.
But then he asks, like, "Are you gonna be drawing?" Because he used to sit and just draw for hours, and people would just watch him draw. Because
what he's most famous for is these characters that he never made any money off of.
Right.
These old characters from like the 60s or the early 70s, was it 70s, 80s? They were like not Egyptian, but these ones here. What were these? These ones here. Danny Dagger.
Oh, right, and the Fantasticals. I was going to ask you if that was a real show.
No.
But not if this was a real show. But is it like a?
But this is what people
at something else.
This probably, but this is what people know him for.
I want to know if it's something.
It's all the same. It could be Spider-Man. It could be.
Okay.
It could be anything like that.
It doesn't have like a.
No.
And
what
really
they did was they made
shitty.
a TV show and all kinds of stuff, and he got nothing out of it.
Right.
He got, they.
But this was the Lewis Archie thing, right? Or Archie Lewis?
No, it could be. Yeah. So that's his whole weekend, and what he's trying to do is he's trying to find these lost pages, that original art pages, and that's kind of what the whole weekend's
You're
about.
not going to give the end away, right?
Oh no.
Okay, good.
He's trying to find these lost pages, and the story comes out over time from Jacob.
He's willing to hire some bad guys.
Jacob is the narrator too. he's basically telling what's going on
Right.
about the weekend, and telling about how Hal, when he would get drunk in the past, he would tell stories and stuff.
Right. So it's his story about Hal.
Yeah, and it's good. The art's
amazing. It's full color. Did we say that yet?
No, full color.
Full color.
Called a novella, so I mean it's not super long.
No,
but it's good. It's easy. Yeah. It's the art is kind of realistic. It's good. It's comic book art. I mean, it's
absolutely.
It almost, you know what it looks like? What? It almost looks his style is almost like they took photos and then colorized them into comics. That's cartoons. That's the type of style he has. It's really nice.
Yeah, I like it.
And it's the story is fun. And it's got a surprise ending that you don't really see.
Yeah, a little mystery.
I mean that's what that he really likes doing. And he said, I read an interview, and he said,
I'd read more of his stuff, honestly.
Yeah, he said
you won't hear that from me very often.
Ed Brubaker, who wrote it, said, these guys, a lot of them got screwed over the years. The Jack Kirby's and stuff. They created all these characters and all this stuff, and the one who survived was Stan Lee. He was the one.
Don't they talk about Stan Lee briefly?
Yeah, he mentions him. Okay. He said that Stan Lee would never go to the dinner or something like that. Oh, Stan Lee ain't going to no fucking dinner, something like that. Something like that.
It's probably true.
I think when he got older, it was a little different. I think he enjoyed the adulation.
Well, he deserves to.
Yeah.
Deserved. Oh my God, deserved.
Oh, he's dead.
Yeah, I forgot.
But so I mean,
sorry.
A lot of them. And even today, it's interesting because I on Twitter we follow a lot of creators.
Yeah.
And I've seen posts. I mentioned this to you before.
Yeah.
Where people say, publishers, you need to stop, screwing over your artists. They shouldn't have to work so hard to get something out for you.
Yeah.
You shouldn't demand that they have to put even more out than they're capable of getting out in time.
I mean, with any art, it's never. I honestly feel like no artist makes what they honestly deserve.
It's hard.
It is, and when you are passionate about something, and you do something that you love, I mean, it's a lucky few that really,
I know,
get what they deserve for it.
I look, and it's tough. I look like when you go to like sometimes coffee shops or something will have art up. And you look at it and you're like,
yeah,
that's really expensive.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean,
but they really fucking deserve it. I mean, they fucking deserve it. I get, it's hard to make about like, it's hard to, when you don't have that kind of money to spend on things to see it as what they deserve. But when you look at how many hours they put in, not just to the one piece, but it doesn't start with one piece. Like they didn't sit down and just draw this and start from there. Like they sat down and they had this idea and they thought this thing out and then they drew it, and it probably didn't turn out exactly like they liked, or however. I mean, it's not even that. It's not even just sitting down and drawing, because that's one art form. Writing music, writing a book. I mean, there's so many art forms. Dancing, everything. They don't, all the work and all the years that they put into it, that's what you're paying for when you pay that, what we can't afford to spend on a painting in a coffee shop or whatever. Yep, I don't have that $300 that they're asking for that painting. And I, damn well it didn't cost them $300 for that canvas and that paint. No, but the money that they have spent to maybe go to art school, or the hours put in to doing that work, was surely more than $300 worth.
I agree. I mean, when I work on a book, I remember my second last book before I did the fiction books.
Yeah.
I spent one weekend doing edits, literally from a Saturday night, all day Sunday, or all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. I mean, I didn't even bathe. I went to bed, got up, and started working. I spent like 12 hours a day doing this.
Yes. Yeah.
And they sell the book for $21.99.
Yeah.
Bookstores buy it for $10.
Yeah. You get $5 maybe for it?
No.
Not even.
No, I get $1.50 or something.
$1.50. Exactly. $1.50 for the hours and hours of research. Like, you don't even see that in there. Beyond just the hours spent on the actual product itself. You don't get to see the time spent editing, the time spent researching, the time spent deciding what goes where, and then your fiction, the time spent. I mean, you would drive during the day and be thinking about this character and creating these characters in your mind, with a lot of which those details of who you created in your mind never even went into the book. It was just in your head who this character was in order to come out on the page who they become. I mean, there's so much behind art that you don't see. And that's why it's so frustrating to me that we can look at a painting that costs, I don't know, $300 or whatever, and it's worth so much more than that. And I mean, maybe we can't afford it, but to complain that it's not worth it is like, I would never do that, because it's absolutely worth it. The amount of energy and time and everything that goes into something, it's absolutely worth it.
Well, we talked not too long ago. The HBO has a new Watchmen series, and Watchmen was a huge comic back in the 80s, done by Alan Moore. It was written by Alan Moore, and art was by Dave Gibbons. And whenever people talk about the new series, they call it Alan Moore's Watchmen.
I do.
And it's not Alan Moore's Watchmen. Even Alan Moore's daughter says it's not Alan Moore's Watchmen.
Mm-hmm.
It's Alan and Dave's Watchmen, because he said that, or she says, they created it together.
Yeah.
They maybe he wrote the story and maybe he did the art, but one contributed towards the other. So like he said, maybe you should maybe make this look like this. And then then the other one would say, well, you know what? How about if they said that?
Right.
So even though they each had their like 50-50, they each contributed something to the other part to make it a complete thing that, it was a collaboration.
Yeah.
And it was,
well, that's like, I mean, for us, when we did the mob tours, we spent hours driving and planning and
fighting
and arguing over how it should go and what direction we should go and how the script should be written and what you should say.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, and nobody saw that.
No,
it was they saw the final product, which, by the way, was amazing.
The final product was amazing. And the best ones were when we had a group that would come and I'd take a whole group on it. And
you had several of those.
This was quite a few.
Anyway, we're off topic. We're way off topic here.
Yeah, we've been off topic.
We're really good at that.
What we're trying to say is a lot of these, the basic premise behind the book is that these people were screwed. And sometimes you can't.
Although I feel like they only mentioned these guys. I don't know. Am I wrong? They only mentioned these men. And it's like,
they were the only creators for the most part. For years, the biggest creators were all men.
But they were the biggest creators for a reason.
Yes, because that's the way the industry was.
Yes,
and it still is for the most part.
Exactly. They don't let the women and the queer people ahead.
One of the people,
you know what I'm saying? But they're still complaining like it's not even good enough for the highest level there.
No, exactly. So one of the people we follow, I'm pretty sure.
Imagine how shitty it is for the rest of the creators.
Well, one of the people we follow, if I remember which one, I'm pretty sure is one that we met at Short Run, said that like 10 years ago, she or they wanted to get involved in like the indie comic scene. And they found out it was an old boys club and she wasn't allowed in.
Right.
And then recently she decided she wanted to get involved in it again. and she found out it's completely different.
Oh, really?
It's queer and women, and it's open, and
well, I was so surprised to walk into that room and feel like I was at home. Like
it was the
my
short run
queer fantasy.
was amazing. It really was. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't
It was
say how
you could go into any row at random and find a queer person or a person of color and only support them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like as opposed to your general, comic book graphic novel. I mean, you could throw a stick. I don't know if what I'm saying is correct, but,
but
I mean, not correct, but I know.
I'm not quite
but
sure what you were saying, but yes.
Yes, you could. I mean, you could easily go and only support male.
If you go and look at like graphic
white male
novels
creators
in some of the stores, it's like 3/4.
But you walk into those places, and I was
completely.
I was in shock. I was in shock. It felt amazing on top of the anxiety of, oh my god, there's so many people here. But I was happy to be in a space where I felt like I wasn't an outsider.
No, it was great, and they weren't all queer like Malika. She's married to a man. And
so am I.
Okay, you're right, but I don't believe she's queer. But
I don't think I've read anywhere that she's queer. But
no.
your reasoning for her not being queer.
You're right. But I don't believe she is. But
I'm also not a woman.
But she was also a Filipino Egyptian American.
Yeah, she had lots. She is quite the intersection of. I mean,
and then there were all kinds of people of different backgrounds. So it was very cool. And yes, it's a different time. It's a different time. And when you go in there, you can forget about all the Trumpism and shit outside because
you just feel so comfortable.
That was not there. You didn't feel the hate and
never
and all that stuff.
God, yes.
Except for was one of their guests was not able to get a visa to come in.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so,
you can't forget.
No, and we bought a book from them.
Fucking Trump gets in there every time.
Yeah,
Yeah, we bought a zine from that artist, even though because he couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, I don't know why we keep because it's important. But yeah,
Bad Weekend is a good story.
It's a good story. Yeah, I mean, it's quick. It's
if you like crime.
I am happy anytime I can open a book and see women not drawn as Barbie dolls. If you can open a book and see a woman who's drawn as just a person, then I am relatively happy. Do I wish that there'd been a woman character? Sure. A queer character? Sure. Yeah. But considering, I mean,
there is a woman, but she's a small part of it. Mindy, she's a small piece of it.
But she was also not.
She wasn't a skinny blonde or anything.
But they also complained about how bossy she was, which I don't think they would have complained about it if she was a man. But
they would have called him. They would have called him something too.
No, I don't think so.
You might be right.
Men are allowed to be authoritative. Women are not.
I don't know. This Hal would have called him a dickhead or something like that.
I don't think so.
I think he would have because
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I know you would like to think so, but I mean, I wish that too, but it's just not the case.
Okay.
That's why they made her a woman, so that they could complain about how shrill she was.
Maybe. At the same time, it's a very good book.
It is. And she wasn't some skinny woman with giant tits or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they may have been, but that's because she was a bigger woman.
Oh, her chest.
Yes.
But
anyhow.
More confused.
Bad Weekend. Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips.
It's good.
It's good. A good story. Good art. It's a good read. It's something that just to take a little diversion from
memoirs.
The memoirs, and again,
I wondered at first because I don't have that background knowledge, and it could have been kind of memoirish. I could see it being
definitely
a real story of some guy, and it was good. Right. I liked it.
And next week's book again, we're gonna veer off the memoir trail again, going for a YA book. So just trying to read.
This isn't YA though.
No, this one's not.
No.
There's swearing and drinking and smoking. It's not for kids.
Is there swearing?
Yeah, there's swearing.
Oh God, I don't even remember it.
But anyhow,
and finished reading it yesterday.
Anyhow, check us out on all the places. Apple Podcasts. If you like our show, please rate it.
Like I said, the best thing you can do to support us is to share the show. Share your favorite episode.
Yeah, share
just share it. And holidays coming up, you might be around your friends or family, and you can be like, "Hey, have you heard this podcast? The graphic novel podcast?
Oh yeah,
it's good. I love it.
So much fun.
My favorite.
They talk about themselves.
They talk about
once
their
in a while
life.
They mention a book,
and they're just. We totally mention books. Every episode we mention books.
We mention them. I was going to talk about a preview too, but
wait. Oh, you don't have it prepared?
No.
Does that make you sad?
Did I talk about Life is Strange before?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Sure. Do you want to talk about it now?
No.
You can always mention it twice.
It's an ongoing series based on an Xbox game, which I don't think
I don't think you've talked about it.
No.
This is the thing that you played.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Every time I walked into the fucking room and you were playing this fucking game. I mean, it was interesting if I sat down and watched you play it, but it was like, I can't watch my shows now.
Yeah, they've released
playing this.
Titan Comics has released multiple issues and a couple graphic novels.
See, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, it's actually not bad. I read one issue, and it's an interesting story.
Is it in the email? I should read it.
Yeah.
Because when I sat down and watched you play, I liked the storyline.
Yeah. Titan Comics, a bunch of different ones. I don't know how often the book comes out. But they also have several graphic novels.
Life is Strange.
Yeah, it's pretty
Titan
good.
Comics.
Yeah, so check that out too.
Yes, for sure. The best, if you like listening to our show, you want to support us, the best way to do that is to share. The second best way is to head on over to Patreon, check us out, support us, put your money where your ears are. Is that good?
Yeah,
put your money where your ears are?
Definitely.
It's funny. This is our third podcast. This is our third podcast, but the first two podcasts that we produced, I didn't really listen to podcasts, and now I listen to all kinds of podcasts. And I'm not as many as you. I can't say I listen to all kinds, but I listen to several kinds of podcasts, and I love them so much. I'm so sad that it took me so long to get into them. So, yeah. I mean, support us. Go to Patreon. Support us. Share the show. If you like the show, share the show.
Graphic Novel Podcast. We're everywhere at that. We don't post a lot at all the places, but maybe if you come and visit, we will.
Come and visit. Yeah, tell us that you're listening and that you tell us your favorite episode. Tell us that you read the book and that you fell in love with. That was our 5-star review, that they started reading graphic novels because they listened to the show and they were like, wow, these graphic novels.
Yeah.
They're the cat's meow.
That's right. And until next week, my name is Mike.
And I'm Parker.
And this is the Graphic Novel Podcast.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoy listening to our podcast, make sure that you like, share, give us a great rating. We love to hear back. You can find us on Twitter at Graphic Novel Pod, or you can check out our Instagram at Graphic Novel Podcast.
Or you can visit our website. We got a brand new website. It is graphicnovelpodcast.com. Or you can send us a comment or question or any kind of thing like that.
Yeah, we love hearing from our listeners.
Request for a book to be reviewed or anything like that to graphicnovelpodcast@gmail.com. And biggest thing, if you're listening to the podcast and you like it, visit your favorite podcast distribution host like iTunes or whatever, and give us a review. Give us Stitcher or Breaker, all them, and give us a review and stars, because that's.
Hey, if you give us 5 stars in a review, we may read it on there.
Yes, we will definitely, and that will help us expand the number of people listening to our show.
That's the best way that we can share our show, is by our listeners.
That's right. So thanks for listening again this week.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.